Hello, welcome to It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And guess what? Our listening audience, our viewers, wherever you're watching this at, E360 TV, YouTube, Facebook, over 25 other live streaming networks. It is Hot Topics. It's been a while since we did a Hot Topics show. I think maybe about 6 weeks ago. But as you know, if you've been watching the show, which many of you are, and always have been, you know that we got another exciting lineup coming your way. Got a repeat of board panelists that's back here again today, and we got some major topics that we're going to talk about. And just like always, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is go to web mechanism you're watching this on. Ask to comment, I get it on the screen, you become part of the audience. But I can't even move forward without saying hello to this absolutely wonderful, sensational young lady who is also the executive producer and the co-host of the James Cooley Show, Dr. Denise Michelle Cooley. How are you doing today, Doc?
Yes, Dr. Michelle. No, Denise. Anyway, I'm doing good. I love the Hot Topics show. I love when we get our guest panelists on and, we give our opinions, food for thought, something that maybe the panelists addresses that maybe we haven't thought about or maybe the audience hasn't thought about. We're here not to try to change your mind, but kind of to give an opinion about certain things and why we see it a certain way. So are you excited?
I am extremely excited, and I want to get this started. So, first of all, can you tell our viewers and our listeners the title of the show, the purpose of the show, and then let's introduce this absolutely fantastic group of panelists.
Oh, definitely. So, let me introduce the panelists. The title of the show is March 2023 Hot Topics. So, our panelists we're getting to know their opinions. Is financial consultant and owner of Goldsmith Financial, Joshua Goldsmith, international business developer, marketing and acquisition strategist, and real estate developer, Dr. Erick Hall Sr., and cognitive behavior coach and keynote speaker, Dr. Michael Mantell. And the three topics we will be discussing today is the workforce trends of quiet quitting, great resignation, and bare minimum Monday. And also going to talk about states trying to influence school curriculums regarding American history. And also, why is the increase in millennials having strokes on the rise? So, James, are you ready to start with topic number one?
Yeah, but I think you need to just tell our viewers and the listeners, just remind them of who these great panelists are.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Joshua Goldsmith, financial consultant, owner of Goldsmith Financial. He's a retirement specialist and helps clients generate lifetime income from their retirement savings. Dr. Mike Mantell, he's been helping people of all ages and backgrounds to serve themselves less and creating lasting positive change with his compassion-based, rational, emotive behavior coaching methods. And we have Dr. Erick Hall. He is full of wisdom, a man with a clear purpose of his God-given talents and visions, well-accomplishment, land and real estate developer, experience in international business development, marketing, and acquisition strategist.
Wow. Hey, welcome back, panelists. Welcome back. And just like what Michelle said, you all know that people that need to grab them about 8-9 bags of popcorn because we're getting ready to bring it. So, Michelle, let's start with the first topic.
Yes, first topic is their workforce trends called quiet quitting, great resignation, and bare minimum Monday. Buzzy catchphrases like quiet quitting and great resignation have captured frustration among some employees as the pandemic has upended their workplace routines and called into question work as a lifestyle priority. There's a new viral trend called bare minimum Monday. So we're going to start with quiet quitting. Quiet quitting is where you're not outright quitting your job, but you're quitting the idea of going above and beyond, regardless of a person's frustration and unhappiness regarding their job situation. Is this a healthy trend to partake in? Why or why not? We're going to start with Dr. Michael Mantell.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Quiet quitting has a number of different definitions, the one you've given, but I've also heard it applied to people who leave the company without providing notice. And whether they've actually left or they've left in their mind, and they're just not, being productive. The fact is that what I find is that one of the reasons that people do this is because they want to avoid confrontation. The employee doesn't want to get into a negative discussion with the employer. But as we know, it can have very negative consequences for a company. Quiet quitting can create all kinds of difficulties that for employers who rely on people to be consistently there. And, when we go to the store and we want to buy a product and it's not there, and we say, well, the supply chain is broken, what we really mean is that the people aren't there to produce these difficulties, these products. So I think that we have to look at what's going on that leads people to quit quietly, or to have the great resignation, or the bare minimum Monday. What's going on in the minds of employees, and how can we get employers and employees to connect to have a more profitable, productive, healthier work relationship?
Thank you, Dr. Mantell. Joshua Goldsmith, quiet quitting. As Dr. Mantell said, there's many definitions to it, but not going above and beyond on your job, even though you're not quitting. What do you think of that?
Well, thank you for having me on the show, by the way. It's great to be here. What I think of it is basically quiet quitting is you're giving up on yourself. It's like you're in a job, people are, well, I've got to back up a little bit, because there are so many people out there that have not followed their heart, and they found themselves in a place where they're in debt. They have to be at an employer because they have to make ends meet. They have limited skill set, and they may feel trapped. And so I think this might be one of the reasons why people are saying, okay, what is the minimum? What is, what, I'm here, but I'm really not here, because I'm not ready to there's no motivation for me to move above and beyond. There, either maybe there's a glass ceiling where they have a limited amount of increase in income that they can make moving forward, and or maybe they've reached an age where they just feel like they don't want to, or they can't learn a new skill set to align better with their heart space. But the bottom line I want you to take away is that, it's like quiet quitting. I think it's because their heart and their soul, their life purpose is not aligning with what they're doing in that moment. And we want to have that happen a little bit by people following their heart.
Thank you, Joshua. What about you, Dr. Hall? What do you think about quiet quitting?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me again. Yes, I kind of agree with everybody said already. I think when we think about quiet quitting, a person has kind of, checked out, mentally, no longer have the passion that they had when they first started, that zen. And it has so many different definitions but what you take away from it is just that, like Josh said, you're kind of giving up on yourself. And quiet quitting is not really just related to the job environment. People are doing this in relationships, and, quitting, I'm not putting more effort in this because I don't think it's going where it needs to go. And so quiet quitting, pertains to a lot of different things in other areas of your life, So I think it has to deal with, especially since we're dealing with so much in society now, some of the social ills we're dealing with is the mental health crisis, right? So when we look at it from the perspective of, giving up on yourself, especially, I want to go here just because I think we can keep this conversation going in a fruitful way, where we start thinking about one of the models I grew up on is the 40-40 plan. Our parents used to train us and teach us, go get a good education, right? Get a good job with a good company and work for 40 hours a week for 40 years. And that was the plan. But that plan's been broke for decades, right? But yet we are still teaching that same system. So the mental health crisis fall into play because we're trying to do something and we become that rat running around or the hamster running on a wheel. We check out emotionally because it doesn't seem that it's viable to even obtain the goals that our parents put in front of us, because nobody we know today is going to go apply for a job and then be there for 40 years. That's not the economy we're living in. So that's a take from there.
Wow.
I would quit.
Wow. So, Dr. Cooley, what is your thoughts on quiet quitting? And I'm going to add this little question there. It's not about everybody, but do you believe some people are using it as an excuse to just skirt the system, just collect a paycheck and just do the bare minimum and just do whatever they want to do?
Well, I believe we call it quiet quitting, but I believe it's never wanting to. Meaning that many of the new generation that we're dealing with today, the work ethic is not there. The desire to work is not there because we have gave everything away to our kids. And I don't think that in many cases, that foundation for as you have to go out and do the best you can to give your best, give 110% of everything you do. It's just not instilled in many of our younger generations, and so if they are disappointed with something at their job and they're not really into it anyway, they're not even going to do a very good job. They just want the paycheck. That's what I think.
Wow, thank you for that. So we're going to start with this other workforce trend.
But before we start, let's take a station break because this is really interesting, and I don't want to cut anybody off. So we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back with this absolutely fantastic panel, and we're going to talk more and more about the different topic, workforce structure, and other things that we're going to discuss. Remember, it's your life, and you want to be part of the conversation. Go to the comments, ask any question. We'll see you shortly after the break.
To know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? And everything that you do.
Welcome back to It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and wow, I'm watching the viewership We got over 400, 500 viewers are watching this all over the world at the time. So it's our international audience. Thank you guys so much. And just like we saying, we got this great topic going on right now, and I want to jump back into it. And if you want to be part of it, just go to the comments and ask any question you like and become part of the panel. Back to you, Dr. Cooley.
Thank you. So the next workforce trend is called the Great Resignation. It's a term that describes the trend of the mass voluntary exit of employees from their employment obligations. You know, when workers quit, an organization risks a decrease in productivity and profitability as experienced talent is lost, an increasing cost to hire and train new talent, and at the extreme end of the spectrum, decreased chances of organizational survival. What are your thoughts on this? And I'm going to start with Dr. Hall.
Yes, great question. Well, you know, the pandemic has really created a whole lot of new topics that we're discussing. And I think the Great Resignation is one of them. You know, a lot of people being locked up has been thrusted into these environments like on Zoom and other different technologies that maybe wasn't in the forefront of things. And so I just think about the opportunity for people to make money from home, and entrepreneurship has begun to boom because people and employers have been coming up with new ways for people to, earn a living or a side hustle, if you will. So I think that's partly part of the mass reason we've seen a lot of the Great Resignation, because some people ventured off into work at home and starting their own business and those other opportunities that spawned from the pandemic thrusting us and locking us down in the home.
Thank you, Dr. Hall. So this also is a workforce trend called Bare Minimum Monday. Mondays can be stressful for workers. Now there's a way to deal with it, and it's called Bare Minimum Monday. The new trend prescribes employees to take it easy and ease back into work tasks rather than diving in and feeling stressed later. Do you believe Bare Minimum Monday is encouraging workers to slack off? What are your thoughts, Dr. Mantell?
Well, I want to pick up on what Dr. Hall was saying.
Okay.
We had the perfect storm, and this answers the question. We had the perfect storm of the pandemic, which caused people to stay home and realize, wait a minute, I can work from home. I can have more flexible work arrangements. I have an improved life space balance, work-life balance. So what do I need to go in? I think this is more about employer, I hate the word, but failure to respond than to employees having this bare minimum Monday, or I don't want to put up with all the work or anything. I think the wise employer, lots of my clients are saying, look, I need to come up with a better way of engaging these employees. It's not that they don't want to work. They want more flexibility. Their priorities are different. I need to respond to that. So I think that the opportunity is there for employers to wisen up and become more creative in how they embrace employees, to continue giving them the priorities and the flexibility and the perhaps work at home if that's part of it. It's not that they don't want to work, but they want a little more say, as we always have wanted in our work.
Thank you, Dr. Mantell. Now we're going to start with the next topic, topic number 2. States trying to influence school curriculums regarding American history. The proposals in Texas, a state that influences school curriculums around the country through its huge textbook market, amount to some of the most aggressive efforts to control the teaching of American history. And they come as nearly as a dozen other Republican-led states seek to ban or limit how the role of slavery and pervasive effects of racism can be taught. Idaho is the first state to sign into law a measure that would withhold funding from schools that teach such lessons. And lawmakers in Louisiana, New Hampshire, and Tennessee have introduced bills that would ban teaching about the enduring legacies of slavery and segregationist laws, or any state or the country is inherently racist or sexist. So let's start with Josh. Josh, the Texas State Senate passed a bill that would no longer require public schools to cover writings on the civil rights movement, women's suffrage, and Native American history in his social studies classes. How is this detrimental to the students in the class and to detrimental, period?
Oh, I don't know if you could see the steam coming off my head right now, Michelle. But yeah, it's detrimental. I mean, we had David Crosby just pass away January 18th. He sang a song called "Teach Your Children." It is imperative to teach our children the truth about history and the way it's developed, not only in this country, around the world, so that the mistakes that we made in the past are not repeated. Not only that, it leads to actual ignorance. I mean, it's a promotion of ignorance. It's like this right here is what some may say it's an emerald, right? It's an emerald. Okay. However, if you don't teach somebody that it's diamond cut, they're not going to know. They're going to think this shape is an emerald, and then the wider classification. What is this? It's actually a gem. It's a gemstone. It's classified as a gemstone. It's kind of like, you can't leave any of these crucial things out, or we're doing our kids wrong. And this is our blood. This is our next generation. What people want to be remembered for their legacy. It's what I do. I help people to establish once they get into old age and once they're gone, how are they going to be remembered? You can't take this with you. How are you going to be remembered? By the things that we leave to our children, by the truths that we pass on, and how we've helped humanity evolve.
Thank you, Joshua. Dr. Cooley, in your opinion, are some states worried or concerned about their respective states' reputation and the true story of their role in American history?
I believe, and I want to go back to what Josh just said about teaching our kids and our generations to come. In order to know where you're going, you have to know where you came from. And I don't know if, and I say the Republican states, most of them, they want to blank that portion of it off as it relates to slavery, as it relates to anything, I believe, that dealing with African Americans and other religions or other nationalities as well. But you can't do that. That is ignorant. The truth must be told. It must, our youth and our young adults and generation to come have to know what happened prior to them getting here in years and years and years prior to that. You cannot just wipe a slate clean because it don't fit your image, or you just don't want to think about that or talk about those things. History is what it is. It's history. And again, most of these teaching and most of these bannings are coming from the Republican states, and it's wrong. I believe it's racism, a part of racism myself.
Thank you, Dr. Cooley. Sometimes the truth is painful, but the truth is the truth. So, Dr. Hall, there have been discussions in some of these states of labeling slaves, in the books as quote unquote workers, or their place in American history when they came over here as involuntary relocation. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh no, I feel like I want to take the fifth. I think, I think as everyone spoke beforehand, I think there's a bigger agenda. So from my perspective, I think you can't overlook the spiritual aspect of the things that's happening. Some of the social ills we're dealing with on this particular topic has to do with covering up truth. I mean, we still teach in a history book that Christopher Columbus discovered America when there was Native Americans here. So we know that a lot of this has to deal with a greater agenda. What are they masking? What are they hiding by taking these things out of the schools, changing laws? Because this is about control. And I think more on the racist line, as Dr. Cooley was saying, it's more about the hidden agenda of, racism, and unfortunately, we haven't learned as America can we all get along, as the famous Rodney King used to talk about. But I think we're supposed to take a lesson from history to figure out ways that we can coexist together. These changes are more dividing and divisive than bringing people together. And so we got some work to do, considering that we're in 2023. We're going backwards.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Hoare. Dr. Mantell, what are your thoughts on this of, rewriting history or not putting the full story out there?
Well, first of all, I think that, as we said before the show began, if you tell a child you can't read that or make believe it doesn't exist, most children, most people I know are going to make a dash to get hold of it. So we're not banning anything. That's number one. Number two, if I hide certain foods from my grandkids, it's not good for you. That's the food they're going to run to. Some argue that the actions of banning a book or speech or something like that amounts to censorship. And it's a violation of the First Amendment's protection of free speech. What one person may consider to be an essential part of American history, someone else says is divisive. It's worth considering the impact on these decisions on the education and the intellectual cognitive development of young people. I believe that students need to be exposed to diverse perspectives and ideas to develop critical thinking skills and to become well-informed citizens. So, I think the idea of banning a book is frightening to me. Who gets to decide which books are banned? I don't want Dr. Cooley's books to be banned. I don't want my books to be banned. It's essential to balance the need to prevent the dissemination of misinformation and propaganda with the need to promote free inquiry and critical thinking. Our job is to teach kids how to think critically, how to make decisions, and expose them to all of it, because they're going to get hold of it anyway.
Wow.
Thank
I
you,
see we
Dr.
got
Mantell.
soon to be Dr. Clement Johnson just joined us. First of all, I want to congratulate you. Looking forward to your graduation in June. And hey, Clem, you've been listening to the conversation. What are your thoughts on
Yes, I have been listening to the conversation, and that is a great question. As for the educational part of that, I'll leave that to the educators. I'll leave that to the teachers. It is my understanding that they're the ones should be fighting for what they think we need to learn. I understand that what's going on in Florida is a big issue. It's a Florida issue right now. It could be a national issue later on. However, DeSantis was voted into office, and as much as that is a Florida governor issue, that's a Florida people issue. They voted for him several times. So when I look at what's coming out of Florida, I associate that more toward the people in Florida, just as much as I associated with the governor of Florida. As far as in my life, I don't really care. I teach my kids what I need them to know about Black history. I recommend the books that they need to read about Black history. And I have 6 kids. I have 18 grandchildren and 1 great grand on the way. Each one equates to 10. As Black people, other than our history being taught in schools the way that other racist history is taught, and other races don't have a problem with their history being taught in schools, we need to take charge of our own history and teach our history ourselves. So this is our problem as Black people in order to conquer this peace.
James, you're on mute.
You're on mute, James.
I believe that this is a societal problem, like you're saying, and we just have to just sit back and just bring the common sense back into everything. We cannot be hiding things, just like what you mentioned, Dr. Mantell. This should not be in the banning or any of that stuff. We're going to take a station break, but we're going to come back. We're going to pick it back up because this is a very exciting topic, and we're going to continue to discuss this. So I see everyone after the break. It's Your Life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll see you shortly. Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and just like we mentioned earlier, we're talking hot topics, and we got some very, I believe, very important topics that we are discussing, and I just love the panel responses and their opinions and their views on all of these, I think, much needed topics. And if you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments, whichever platform you're watching it on, and join us. Back to you, Dr. Cooley.
Thank you. I have this question. I'm going to just shoot out to the panelists. We've been talking about textbooks in schools. Well, one thing we didn't mention is school libraries. Certain states want to ban certain books, classic books that we've read, at least I believe we read growing up, like The Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird. And there was one more, and I mean, Dr. Mantell were talking about it, but there's a lot of books they want to ban from libraries because they don't approve of the content. So I just wanted to know, in a short sentence, what is everyone's thoughts on banning certain books? And I understand if you have a little child, you are mindful of what they are reading. I totally get that. But, you know, just classic books. So what are your thoughts on this, Dr. Erick?
Great question, Michelle. I think that when we think about banning a book, who has the right to do that? When we go back to Dr. Mantell saying about our constitutional right, who's given authority to ban any book at that matter? You know, I think as parents, we're policing our children to, you know, there's a lot of things out there, you know, good, bad, and indifferent, but we have the freedom of choice based on constitutional rights to read. And I think it's more of a parent thing to guard against or safeguard against, you know, what your children read. But as an adult, if I chose to go back to school, I can't go read, you know, classic book like, you know, like you just mentioned, it doesn't sound right. And this control has to be some type of other agenda behind it, is my thoughts.
Thank you. Josh, I'm going to ask that question to you. Then we're going to move on to the next topic. What are your thoughts on certain books being banned in school libraries?
Parents are responsible for what their children are learning. And that's they're not only responsible for that, they're responsible for their actions, as several courts have found, when they commit crimes. I mean, banning books. Can you see the steam rising again? It's like, that's just it's abhorrent. In World War II, it reminds me of banning is just a prelude to burning.
Right.
And World War II, the Nazis burned books, and they were trying to, they were burning part of their country's history in the middle of town square. And people were just feeding into it. There wasn't people standing up and saying, no, we can't do this, because if you did that, they'd arrest you, take you away, never to be seen again, or put you into jail for years. It's something that is more serious, I think, than what we're talking about here. It's not just banning books. It's a control method that is being tested out, I believe, on a smaller scale. So I think we have to take it very seriously and protect our classics and protect our constitutional rights, because they're being challenged left, right, and center every day.
Thank you, Josh. And the other book I was thinking of was Lord of the Flies. Read that when I was a teenager. Next topic 3. Thank you. Why is the increase of millennials having strokes on the rise? A recent analysis shows that stroke fatalities rise millennials and have rise, reversing of diabetes. Some experts attribute the rise in deaths to a lack of access to preventive health care. And we're going to start with you, Dr. Cooley. In your opinion, do you believe that stroke death rates may be increasing due to a lack of focus on stroke and heart attack prevention? And I'm going to ask the same question to Dr. Mantell, so you go back to back. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. It's a lifestyle change, meaning that the things that we used to do, eat and several exercises that we deemed was important when we was growing up. It goes back to the generation, the current generation. A lot of our youth and young folks, they don't take exercise seriously. They drink a lot, they smoke a lot, less physical activity. They're not doing the things that is required to maintain a healthy balance. I'm talking about equilibrium. And it's due to that is because us as parents sometimes did not teach our kids the same thing that was taught to us about just going and eating all during the day, out anytime you want to, open up the refrigerator, just ice cream, all that stuff. You just eat as much as you want to. Right now, there is no rules and regulations, and it shows with obesity. It shows with the strokes. It shows with blood pressure. It shows with all of these things because there is a lack of discipline, lack of understanding, and that's where our society is at today.
Dr. Mantell.
So let's make sure we define millennials as people who were born between 1981 and 1996. Yes. That's the age group. So the concern is that the American Heart Association did a study recently, and they found that millennials have a 30% higher risk of dying from a stroke than people born in the 1950s. Now, this is not limited to one specific demographic, because the study found that this increased risk of stroke among millennials affects men and women, as well as people of different races and ethnicities. One of the main reasons, as Dr. Cooley has pointed out, is the rise of these risk factors among millennials. They're facing a perfect storm of health issues that includes obesity, diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol. So you look at the fact that they have a more sedentary lifestyle. Their obesity is one of the biggest risk factors for stroke, and millennials are facing an increase in obesity, as all people are. But according to the CDC, the obesity rate among individuals aged 20 to 39 has increased from about 18% in 2000 to about 31% just a couple of years ago. So it's not only leading to a higher risk of stroke, but all kinds of other issues. Diabetes is an issue that I think that you mentioned, JC, as well. Diabetes is also a leading cause of stroke. So, and that's related to obesity. Smoking is increasing for millennials. According to the American Heart Association, the data tells us that smoking rates among adults aged 25 to 34 increased in recent years, which is contributing to a higher stroke death rate among millennials. And it goes on and on and on. Millennials definitely are at a high risk for stroke because of lifestyle habits that lead to health difficulties.
Thank you, Dr. Mantell. Dr. Erick, studies have mentioned that as life has more due to technology and the efficiency in the world, and being can you hear me?
I think you need to repeat the question, Michelle, because you were breaking up.
Oh, okay. Studies have mentioned that as life and work have become more demanding due to technology and the increasing efficiency in the world, millennials have let themselves, and hence their personal health is being compromised. What are your thoughts on that?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Michelle. I to piggyback on what Dr. James and Dr. Mantell has said, the lifestyle change the millennium has been afforded through the technology rush and boom. If we think about, these kids are now, being raised by TV and video games and entertainment, and then they lack the activity. And then to top it off, though, we cannot forget that, Big Pharma and the farmers in the food industry have kind of partnered, to create some of these ailments. I think that when you look at the ingredients in food, it's all these things, because your health is your true wealth. And I think when you start looking at, we are what we eat, and our brain become mushy because we're eating mushy things, kind of thing. It's one of those paradigms that we have to be careful, because it's creating a generation of zombies. We're being dumbed down for the sake of the dollar, and health and everything else is all part of those compromises. So I think it really has to go backwards to start at the house, in the home, with parents, safeguarding just every aspect. Now, we've been talking about on these other topics, banning books and stopping this and stopping that. And it shouldn't be no different from sugar foods, the heart attacks and stroke, smoking. I mean, just think about the tool, e-cigarettes. I mean, it's a gamut of things that we now didn't have 20, 30 years ago that we have to be focused on today. So it's just tough in this situation without really taking it all the way back to the home.
Thank you. Dr. Cooley, do we need to go break?
Yeah, we're gonna take a station break. I don't want to, but we got to pay the bills, But this is such an interesting topic, and when we come back, we're gonna get Josh Goldsmith opinion and also Clem opinion. So I tell you, you want to be part of this conversation, all you have to do is go to the comments, ask any question you like, and we'll get it on the screen. It's your life. I'm Dr. James J.C. Cooley. We'll be back shortly after the break.
Noah Dingley here, producer of The James Cooley Show, It's Your Life. And the new audio version of James' book, Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet, is a must-have. James shares his true life story of struggle and success in America. It's both a cautionary tale and a roadmap to achieving the American dream. Get the new audio version of Country Boy, City Boy, A Journey That Ain't Over Yet by James Cooley on Amazon.com or wherever audiobooks are sold.
For 30% equity.
Welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and my panel is absolutely fantastic. And we are talking about, I believe, some very important topics that everyone needs to be aware of and that need to be discussed more often. So if you want to be part of the conversation, just go to the comments and ask any question you like. But Michelle, let's pick this back up.
Yes, we're gonna touch base with Josh, and Clem. So Josh, prior research has shown that only 65% of millennials have a primary care doctor compared to 82% of baby boomers and 74% of Generation Xers. Why do you believe this is the case? Why are millennials lacking or behind the curve as far as having a primary care doctor?
Well, what's not being taught here? It seems like that we're passing it, like Dr. Erick said. There's all these opportunities for someone to veer off on the health. As far as, hey, this is what it takes to be healthy, but I'm going to go this way because there's a draw, there's an advertisement, preparation. They're not preparing. But it does make sense that the younger generations, hopefully the numbers are that way because they're staying healthy longer. I'd like to think that could be the case. So, why do I need to go to a doctor if I'm healthy? So I don't have a primary care physician. And the older you get, the more of a need it becomes. But I really like what Dr. Erick said about, as far as we're fast food nation here. It's like, why can't we make some of the selections when we're out and about to purchase a quick meal healthy? We need to not only just, why can't we? We need to ban these organizations that are taking over our country that are borderline evil. Because it's poison that we're putting into our bodies. Straight up poison. It tastes delicious. I love a Big Mac every once in a while. I'll eat the heck out of it. But you know what? It's only because I was there. I brought there when I was a kid. How are we gonna move on and get healthier foods in our diets in this country? Live longer. We're only a couple hundred years. How old is this country? we're not that old. We've got to make the changes now.
Thank you, Josh.
I see this thing, Josh. I see this thing.
And Michelle, Michelle, I just want to comment real quickly. I know we got to, but that notion about primary care, that data is down across board. People are going to urgent care. Have you tried to get an appointment with a primary care doctor? Have you tried to get your test results? Younger people don't have the patience for that, and they're not putting up with it. So they go to urgent care. They go to the CVS, and bing, bing, I'm going to be seen for this problem. Thank you very much. I'm going home.
Absolutely. You go to YouTube, right? The YouTube's done become a doctor. Hey, I got this pain over here. Let me go on YouTube and see what it say, because you can't get into your primary doctor. So all those are factors.
The fact is, though, that when you talk about millennials or any of us, the American College of Lifestyle Medicine tells us that the 6 pillars to follow, whether we ban all that stuff or not, Josh, eat well, get physical activity, get healthy 7 to 8, 9 hours of sleep, cut down on the stress and because of the way you're thinking, have great friends around you, and avoid those risky substances. You will live a long life.
Get a good schwitz going. Get your sweat on. It's shown to reduce heart disease by over 50%. 4 times a week.
We got to touch base with Clem here. So Clem, I know each generation is different. And I know, they're saying millennials are not doing X, Y, and Z. But what recommendation, advice would you give to millennials regarding this, health issue, something that non-millennials are doing that millennials are not doing? What are your thoughts on that? What advice would you give?
Go to the doctor. I mean, that's what they need to do. Just go to the doctor. But let's keep in mind. Let's keep all of this in scope. I'm born in the '60s, and in the '60s, who was able to go to the doctor unless you were middle class. Only way you could get into the doctor was to go to the emergency room. So the numbers that the CDC has from back in that time is limited. As we moved on. Still, even in the 80s and 90s, especially in Middle America and in the South, the only way that most people were going to the doctor, they didn't have a doctor, they were going to the emergency room. So numbers were down. Now we have sort of a socialized healthcare program. Now, just about everybody can go to the doctor or have a doctor of some kind. And if you don't, the government will subsidize you. And now the numbers for the CDC and what they're generating are way up. The key thing to keep in perspective here, although the numbers are way up and millennial numbers seem a lot off in some cases, people are living longer now than we ever have.
Thank you, Clem. So, we went through all three topics. So in 2 words or less. Yeah. So the first one was workforce trends of quiet quitting, greater resignation, bare minimum Monday. I'm going to throw it to somebody. Takeaways. Dr. Mantell, what are takeaways you want to give the audience regarding workforce trends, quiet quitting, great resignation, bare minimum? Real quick before we go.
The link is what you think. It comes down to the idea of people making choices for themselves and hopefully choosing wisely.
Thank you. Josh, Dr. Hall, your takeaways regarding states trying to influence school curriculums. Quick.
Can I just, the steam, the steam is just rising from my head. Takeaway is like, no regulation, please. No, thank you. How about that?
What about you, Dr. Hall?
Yes, I just want to go all the way back, as the famous and wise Dr. Mantell would always say, we got to go back to the beginning. And if it's not about God, only things we do for God is going to last. And we got to make sure that we pay homage to understand that we're taking God out of everything, and we're wondering why the world is in the state that it's in. So my takeaway is we need to add back God, pray America back to one nation under God.
Thank you. And Dr. Cooley, what are your thoughts about millennials strokes being on the rise? What advice would you give? Because some of you might have had children born between 1981 and 1996. What advice would you give them? The same question for Clem, but Clem will start first. What advice would you give them real quick?
You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Go to the doctor, eat your fruits, eat your vegetables, and vitamins aren't fruits and vegetables.
Dr. Cooley, you have it.
He's on mute too.
James, Dr. James, you're on mute.
You're on mute.
First of all, I want to say that we just need to get back to the basics. Health, just like the 6 basic steps that Dr. Mantell was talking about, rest, sleep, eating right, etc. We have to refocus our mind when we're doing all of those type of things. And we have to be cognizant of what we put in our body, just like what Joshua Goldsmith. I'm not saying ban Burger King and ban McDonald's or anything, but we have to be careful that if we're going to eat that, we eat that sparingly, not every day. And so this has been an absolutely great panel, great topics. I cannot wait until next month so we can do this again. I'd like to thank each and every last one of you for taking time out your schedule to be on Hot Topics and be on the James Cooley Show. And I'd like to thank Dr. Michelle Cooley again for putting together another outstanding show. I'd like to thank, most importantly, our listeners and viewers for tuning in to us every day. And I tell you what, always dream big, think big, be big at everything that you do. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. It's your life. We'll see you tomorrow.